Hey guys, Ash here coming at you today with a really cool episode. It's all going to be how to get a high percentage, or at least a decent percentage, 2-star attack onto Town Hall 11s as a Town Hall 10. Now, I'm going to cover 2 replays against trophy bases and 2 replays against anti-3-star bases, because obviously the strategy does change a bit depending on what type of base you're going to be attacking. So as you can see here, we're about a half minute into our first replay, and it's against this notorious ring-type base. And Tin Man really has a great formula against any of these bases, whether you're a Town Hall 10 or a Town Hall 11. Now, obviously, as a Town Hall 10 against a close-to-max Town Hall 11, you really don't have a great chance at a 3-star at all, but you can get a high percentage 2-star with this technique. And it's using a queen walk and then waiting to see what direction she heads. Hopefully, it's the direction that you planned for when playing the raid. But what you want to do is rotate about 90 degrees and then make that a second entry point for a golem, followed by a few wizards and a couple Valkyries in your Barbarian King. You want to hold back on about a dozen Valkyries, and as you can see, now there's an obvious funnel to the center of the base. Sometimes the queen will head to the center too, sometimes she'll go down the opposite lane. It doesn't really matter, because the real crux of this strategy is to get your rage spells down ASAP on the core and let those Valkyries do their thing. So obviously, it's a very, very tried and true method for hitting any of these ring bases. Start out with a queen walk that's going to create one side of the funnel. You rotate about 90 degrees clockwise or counterclockwise depending on what direction she's moving in. You make your second entry point. You send in your king, a few wizards, a few Valkyries. You give them a little bit of time, and then you drop your jump spell onto the core, and then you go ahead and get your Valkyries in there. You spam your rage spells, and they'll take down the Town Hall. Now let's go ahead and alternate to an anti-3-star base, and then we'll go back to another variation on a ring base after this one. So against an anti-3-star base, things are a little bit different as a Town Hall 10 attacking a Town Hall 11. And the main difference is going to be your goals with your queen walk portion of the attack, right? So against an anti-3-star base, your main goal is primarily, sometimes it's to set up one side of the funnel, but most of the time, the number one role of the queen walk in these type of anti-3-star attacks is to actually get percentage points, because you're going to aim your kill squad right into the Town Hall. So you can see the queen's going to near around 20-25%, and then Alex is going to go ahead and start the golem portion of the attack with the wizards, obviously establishing the funnel and then sending the Valkyries in towards the Town Hall. Now, one thing I do want to note here is that you do have 3 rage spells to use, so obviously you can go ahead and allocate one of those to the queen walk to keep your queen alive, because you're really counting on your queen pretty heavily here. It's good to have a level 30 plus queen, especially going against these totally maxed out Town Hall 11 bases. So 25% is right about now here by Alex. He knows he has plenty of time. That's the thing about these attacks. You're not going for 3 stars, so time isn't an issue at all. Make sure you take your time, keep your queen alive. She gets almost 30% on her own, and then here come the Valkyries, the wizards. Nice easy funnel right into the core of the base. Even with both of the Inferno Towers in range of all the Valkyries, he's still going to be able to easily take down the Town Hall, even with the dragons. Look at this clan castle. Clan castle, queen, dragons, Inferno Tower, everything is on the Valkyries. But as you guys know, Valkyries under rage is definitely a lethal combination. So the queen is still alive and doing well here, making her way around the base counterclockwise in the west. He brings a couple hogs to help the queen out. Very well thought out attack here, thinking that he might need hogs at some point, either trigger that clan castle early, or if he saw that the queen was going the opposite direction, to help the queen later on in the attack. Obviously, you definitely want to get as high a percentage as you can on these attacks. That way, a Town Hall 11 doesn't necessarily have to attack it anyway if it comes down to a percentage game in a really tight war. By the way, huge shout out to the entire A-Team crew over here. A few of their replays today, Alex, Nelly, and Tin Man, all excellent attackers, and they do a heck of a good job. And that's basically why I feel like today's episode is so important, just because of Clan War strategy in general. Having your Town Hall 10s be able to start out a war with a decent percentage 2-star attack against maxed out Town Hall 11s, whether they be trophy bases or anti-3-star bases, is so valuable, because obviously that's going to free up so many attacks for your Town Town Hall 11s later on in the war, or even midway through the war if your Town Hall 10s are fast with their attacks. So Clan War strategy, obviously the best strategy is to have the lowest people possible 3-star the highest possible bases on the other side of the war map. And this is a great way to do that, because essentially you're freeing up more 3-star potential hits by bases that have stronger offensive troops, or players, excuse me, who have stronger offensive troops. So it's just a really great idea to have your Town Hall 10s get familiar with hitting Town Hall 11s, because let's face it, it can be intimidating. And the beautiful thing is that now that we have the friendly challenge feature, if I was in a competitive war clan, which I just happen to be, I would go ahead and constantly have my Town Hall 10s practicing hitting Town Hall 11s for 2 stars. Now sometimes you just want your Town Hall 10s to 3-star other Town Hall 10s, but depending on the specific war strategy, I do find that it's a very important tool to have in your toolbox when going into any clan war. So let's go ahead and move on to another trophy base. You can see another 65% attack here by Nelly. Same principles as we discussed in the previous anti-3-star attack. Now let's move on to another 3-star against a popular ring base, another type of ring base, a little bit different than the first one. This time there are no walls separating the inside of the base. So again, Tin Man here is going to go ahead and start from around 9 o'clock, again with a queen walk, and it's going to be the same exact principles as you saw on the first attack. We're going to start out with the queen walk. She's going to create one part of the funnel around 9 o'clock to around 10 o'clock, and then the golem's going to enter all the way around 6 o'clock and create that side of the funnel with the Barbarian King, a few wizards, and a few Valkyries. Then we're going to hold off on about 10 or so Valkyries to make their way into the core after the funnel has been established. So here's the golem, here's the big line of wizards deployed very, very quickly there. Here come the wall breakers, and this is going to create that side of the funnel, which, as you can see, is already starting to take shape here, especially as the golem and those Valkyries take out that spell factory and make their way a little bit towards the eastern part of the base. Now there is obviously the jump spell already down there, a nice easy path for the Valkyries to go nowhere but the core of this base. And you can see, just like the first replay, he waits a little bit, very patient on the Valkyries, then comes the next 2 rage spells, here comes 2 poison spells on the clan castle, and the Valkyries are going to make really quick work of that town hall. The queen's still around full health, and 50% is hit right now, and there it is. I tell you what, Tin Man makes it look easy, but if you see a base like this, whether you're a Town Hall 10 or a Town Hall 11, it doesn't really matter. This is a great entry point strategy to use against these type of bases. So if you or you see a clanmate struggling, go ahead and refer them to a video like this against these bases, because the entry point is a really valuable skill to have in your arsenal. So guys, that is going to do it for today's episode. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of your day with me. I truly appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much, and as always, take care.
We don't play for fame, we don't play for cash. We just play for the glory and the crash of the eye.